park was loud with life, but one man sat as if the world had gone silent around him. Expensive suit, loosened tie, eyes fixed on nothing, hands trembling slightly as he stared at the ground. People passed him without noticing that a powerful man was breaking inside. He was a CEO who controlled thousands of employees, million-dollar deals, and towering buildings, yet in that moment, he could not control his own tears. They slipped down his face quietly, unnoticed by the crowd, until a small voice, gentle and innocent, reached him like a hand pulling him back from the edge. A little girl stood in front of him, holding a worn teddy bear, her eyes filled not with fear, but concern. She looked at him the way children look at broken things, believing they can still be fixed. What happened next would change not only his life, but hers, and her father's, forever. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet power of human connection, take a moment now to like this video, comment, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to Single Dad Diaries. Your support helps stories like this reach hearts that need them. The man on the bench was Ethan Cole, once celebrated as the youngest CEO in the city's history. His name appeared on magazine covers, his interviews played in boardrooms and business schools, and his life looked perfect from the outside. But success had come at a cost he never truly understood until it was too late. Years earlier, he had chosen ambition over everything else, over weekends, over friendships, over love. His wife had waited patiently at first, then painfully, and finally not at all. When she left, she took with her the warmth of their home and the laughter that once filled it. There were no children to tie him to memories, no family photos on his walls, only awards and framed certificates reminding him of what he had gained and what he had lost. That morning, he had attended a board meeting where numbers were praised and profits celebrated, yet all he felt was empty. On the same day, he received the news that his ex-wife had moved on completely, expecting a child with someone else. It was not jealousy that crushed him, but the realization that the future he once postponed had now closed its doors forever. He left the office without explanation and walked until his feet carried him to the old city park, a place he barely remembered from his childhood. He sat there, surrounded by families, laughter, and small moments of happiness, feeling like an outsider to the very life he once thought he didn't need. The little girl who approached him was named Lily, though he would not learn her name until later. She was small, maybe 6 years old, with messy hair tied in uneven pigtails and knees marked by the evidence of a life fully lived. She had been playing nearby when she noticed the man on the bench wiping his eyes, trying to hide his tears behind his hands. Children have a way of seeing what adults try to bury, and Lily felt something was wrong. She did not understand titles like CEO or words like success. She only understood that someone was sad and alone. She stepped closer, clutching her teddy bear like a shield, and offered him something so simple and so profound that it shattered the walls he had built for years. She offered him comfort without judgment. Ethan looked up, startled, embarrassed to be seen in such a state by a child. He tried to smile, to pretend everything was fine, but his eyes betrayed him. Lily did not ask questions the way adults do. She did not demand explanations or solutions. She simply believed that sadness should not be faced alone. She told him, in her own innocent way, that when people cry, it helps to have a dad nearby, and since hers was close, he could borrow him. To her, sharing comfort was as natural as sharing toys. To Ethan, it felt like the universe had spoken directly to him through the mouth of a child. A few steps away, Lily's father watched nervously. His name was Daniel, a single dad who had learned to live with constant worry. His wife had died 3 years earlier after a sudden illness, leaving him alone with a daughter who became his entire world overnight. He worked long hours at a modest job, balancing bills, school lunches, and bedtime stories, all while carrying grief he never allowed himself to fully feel. When he saw Lily approach a stranger, panic surged through him, but before he could intervene, he noticed something unexpected. The man on the bench was not dangerous or annoyed. He looked human. Broken. And Lily, somehow, had reached him. Daniel approached carefully, apologizing for his daughter's boldness, ready to pull her away. But Ethan stopped him with a gesture, his voice thick with emotion as he explained that Lily had done nothing wrong. For the first time in months, he felt seen, not as a businessman, not as a failure, but as a person in pain. Daniel saw something familiar in Ethan's eyes, the same exhaustion and quiet sorrow he saw in the mirror every morning. Two men from entirely different worlds found themselves connected by a child who believed kindness was meant to be shared freely. They sat together on the bench, not speaking much at first. Lily played nearby, occasionally glancing back to make sure everything was okay. The park continued its rhythm, children laughing, leaves rustling, life moving forward, while something inside Ethan slowed down. Daniel eventually shared his story, not in dramatic detail, but in the simple way grief reveals itself when trust is present. He spoke of loss, of nights spent pretending to be strong, of learning how to braid hair while holding back tears. Ethan listened, truly listened, for the first time in years. In Daniel's struggles, he saw a version of himself that could have been, and in his devotion, he saw what he had sacrificed. Days passed, but the memory of that afternoon refused to fade. Ethan found himself returning to the park, hoping, almost like a child himself, to see Lily and Daniel again. When he did, their meetings became quiet rituals. Sometimes they talked, sometimes they didn't. Lily always brought her teddy bear and always made sure Ethan smiled at least once. Through them, Ethan experienced a world untouched by boardrooms and deadlines, a world where time was measured in shared moments, not profits. As weeks turned into months, Ethan began to change. He started questioning the life he had built and the emptiness that came with it. He noticed how Daniel struggled to make ends meet, how Lily's shoes were worn and her backpack patched. He saw the quiet dignity with which Daniel carried his responsibilities, never complaining, never asking for help. Ethan wanted to do something, but not in the way he was used to, not with money thrown like a solution, but with presence. He offered support carefully, respectfully, understanding that pride and independence were all Daniel had left to protect. The biggest challenge came when Daniel faced the possibility of losing his job due to company downsizing. The fear in his eyes mirrored the fear Ethan once felt of losing relevance, but this time, the stakes were different. This was not about status, it was about survival. Ethan realized that the company responsible for the layoffs was one of his subsidiaries. The system he had built, focused solely on efficiency and profit, was now threatening the very people who had taught him what humanity looked like. For the first time, success felt like failure. Ethan made a decision that shocked his board and himself. He halted the layoffs, restructured departments, and personally invested in employee welfare programs. It was not charity, it was accountability. His leadership style transformed, and though it came with resistance, it also brought unexpected loyalty and respect. Daniel kept his job, but more importantly, he gained hope. Lily noticed the change too, not understanding the details, only knowing that the men who once cried on a park bench now laughed more often. The bond between them deepened, and with it came something none of them expected. Ethan found himself becoming part of their small family, not as a replacement, not as a savior, but as someone who finally understood what it meant to belong. He learned how to sit through school plays, how to celebrate small victories, how to listen without trying to fix everything. The loneliness that once defined him slowly loosened its grip. Years later, the park remained the same, but the people were not. Ethan was no longer just a CEO, he was a mentor, a friend, a man who measured success by impact rather than income. Daniel found stability and peace, no longer carrying his burdens alone. Lily grew, but never lost her belief that kindness could change lives. She would often remind them of the day everything began, the day she shared her dad with a stranger because she believed no one should cry alone. As this story comes to a close, take a moment to reflect on how small acts of kindness can create ripples we may never fully see. If this story touched your heart, reminded you of your own struggles, or inspired you to believe in people again, please like this video, share it, and subscribe to Single Dad Diaries. Your engagement helps keep these stories alive, and before you go, leave a comment below telling us what this story meant to you, or share a moment when kindness changed your life. Sometimes, your words might be exactly what someone else needs to read today.